Good afternoon, everybody. Good to see you guys again.
David Moore, Dallas Morning News. Mike told us you'd love to talk to us about the field goal, but before we get to that, why don't we start with the punt return? And you talked before just about the threat that Turpin is, and how guys block for him. You have that threat, just being able to return it, what that does for you.
Yeah, that's, we've been searching for that for the last 2 years, really. And we did a little something different with our punt return this year than we have in the past. And we have some guys that have really competed through training camp. We didn't really do anything different than we've done all training camp, regardless of the opponent, especially week one, because there's so many uncertainties. So I just think the level of competition our guys played with, and then let's face it, for us punting and for them punting, week one is always, protection. You're always like, come on, let's get the protection right. Covering punts is always like, there's chemistry that has to be still worked out. And so I think that was part of it. They hit a very returnable ball to Terp, like we hit a couple of returnable balls to them, and we just capitalized on it. So it was great to finally get him across the goal line, and week one was a great time to do it because, hopefully it kind of leads into a little bit more.
Well, Todd Archer of the ESPN, if you want to tell us your thoughts on the end of the half situation.
Well, the blood is boiled down a little bit so I can talk probably with some poise. So, gosh, it was a great sequence of events for our team. The defense got a great stop. We used our timeout. I think 18 seconds left. They punted it. We had a 15 or 20-yard return. Coach asked me, where we got to get in field goal range, and I said just across the 50. So on first down, we hit a 12-yard pass to, I think it was Tolbert on the sideline, to the 48-yard line. We said, perfect, we're across the 50. So we run our field goal team out there, normal timing. And what it looked like to me was two issues happened. Is it looked like they got the quarterback ball off the field late, and they got the K ball in late. And then once they got the K ball set, one of the officials, when he saw a defensive substitution, stood over Trent and said, hold, hold. And so Trent wasn't able to address the ball to get ready to snap it, which, under 2 minutes, we're not allowed time to match substitution. So by the time we got over the ball and snapped it, we were 1 second late. And so that was my observation of it, and had a conversation with the official before halftime and after halftime, especially once I talked to Trent, that he was told to hold, because of a defensive substitution supposedly happening, and that's what cost us that second. So it's too bad. And then, we got backed up 5 yards, and actually going that way was a little bit into the wind, which makes it even more incredible. He made the 66-yard kick. So 71 yards, we actually considered it. And then they put the returner back there, and we said, just don't like that at the end of the half. If it was going the other way, we might have kicked it because there's a little bit of wind at our back going the other way. But so I think we made the right decision, pulled it off, didn't put it in the returner's hands with offensive linemen on the field, and that was the right call, even though it's kind of like,
I'm sure Clete appreciated that.
He was good.
As one of the authors of the new kickoff rule, your thoughts on what you've seen here through week one? I think the percentage is down, 7 or 14% maybe from week one last year. What are your thoughts on the new kickoff?
I don't know. I think I saw something where at 35% return rate through week one. The first thing I say is, it's super early. The other thing for us is hitting the ball where I think the sweet spot most teams are trying to hit it is in between the goal line and 5-yard line. And you don't really want it short of that. So I think some touchbacks are a result of the kicker just hitting it a little bit too far. There's 2 times we kicked it off yesterday. We wanted to put the ball in play, but Brandon hit it just a little bit too much under the ball, and the wind pushed it, and so it resulted in a touchback. But that was not the intent. So any ball that goes into the end zone is very likely being a touchback. But it's just, I think the kickers are going to get better at putting the ball into the sweet spot, which is, I'm speaking probably for most teams, between that 5-yard line and goal line. Anything that gets pushed a little too far is a touchback. But I think it's been fantastic. For us and our opponents, I think it's a really cool play. I'm very optimistic it's going to be a great thing over the course of the season. I believe the return rate will probably be in the 50% range as kickers get better at putting it in play and learning how to adjust their distance and direction control. That's what I'm finding out with our guy, at least. So our return percentage would be higher on both ends of it once we get a little bit better at dialing in the distance of the kicks. But I love it. I think it's fantastic. I think it's going to continue to grow on everybody, but it sounds like it isn't yet, which is okay. We're early. Let's give it some time, and I think it's going to be a great product for the NFL.
Calvin, do you have anything?
Yeah, Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. How tempted were you to attempt a 71-yarder? Now, yeah, they had a guy back there and you kick it into the wind, but
Yep.
when he hit the 66-yarder, looked like he hit about 70 yards anyway.
Yeah, I know. And if it went 70 yards, he's probably catching it on the 9-yard deep. And I'll just tell a quick story. I was on the field. I was with the Oakland Raiders, and we attempted a 76-yarder. That was, I think, the day before Lane Kiffin got fired. I was the assistant special teams coach, and it was the end of the half, and, field goal. And one of the running backs said, "Do you guys even know which way we're going?" And Janikowski, just like Brandon, just goes out on the field. He doesn't care. They say kick it, he goes and kicks it. So we attempted a 76-yarder, and I'd never forget it. Antonio Cromartie's back there. I'm like, oh, damn. He catches the ball on the goal line. We're covering a kickoff with 10 offensive linemen against Antonio Cromartie, and we tackled him like at the 30-yard line, and the starting center got hurt. So as soon as, we hit 71 yards, I know for me it went to Raiders versus I think it was the Chargers. I know Coach had one against Nathan Vassar years ago. So immediately both of our memory banks went, let's go ahead and take the kicker off the field and, put the ball back in the quarterback's hands.
Pregame, what was the furthest he made a kick going in that direction? Do you remember?
Yeah, usually in pregame warm-ups, I don't hit him more than a 55-yarder. But we knew that he could top out at probably 68. That's why, when the line was asked, the line was given, just get us across the 50. Even with the conditions a little bit uncertain, we felt like there was a little bit of favor going the other way, maybe by 2 or 3 yards, but I just felt, and we all felt like the 71-yarder. And really, when the penalty happened, I said, "Hey, Brian Anger, come here real quick." I waved him, and I said, "Hey, man, what do you think?" And he was like, he hit that about as clean as he can hit it. I'm not sure it made it by more than 5, so he was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "That's all I need to know." And, with the returner back there, I think we did the wise thing.
Saudis, the Athletic. John, Brandon after the game mentioned that Anger was the one that kind of waved it off and made that decision. I'm just curious, in such a short period of time, there's McCarthy, there's you, there's Anger, there's Brandon's comfort. How does the decision making go on that potential 71-yarder, the order of operations in that?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So Brandon Aubrey has no decision-making in that, which is probably the right thing to do. But it started with calling Brian Anger over because he's got such a great sense. So we asked Brian, what he thinks as far as how that kick would look. And then we're kind of like, and then we saw the returner back there. So me and Coach McCarthy just immediately said, let's do the wise thing. And, I think we're up by whatever at that point. So let's just get out of the half, and we'll be okay. So it kind of went very quickly from Brian to me and Coach McCarthy to pulling back off the field. But, gosh, that would have been fantastic. That would have been an all-timer. Especially in Cleveland because, grass and the conditions. And, what a kick. Jeez.
Nick Harris, DallasCowboys.com. Can you talk about the decision to put in Wanye as a second returner? Is it kind of an opportunity to have an extra blocker out there and a guy like Wanye who can also return the ball? Were you trying to find a hybrid of those two things?
Yeah, no, great observation. I think Wanye has excellent ball skills and return ability. He did it in college. But we feel like if we can find a way to get Turpin to where we think they're going to kick it, then we have Wanye who can handle the ball if they end up kicking it to him. But he's such a proven blocker that he can get up in there and he can block pretty much any matchup where you might not want Turp doing that. Like he did in this game, they kicked us one ball. I don't think they intentionally kicked it in play, but Wanye got up real quick and blocked the guy who was the one where we ran it, and he did a good job, and we kind of scored it through for a good return. But yeah, Wanye has the ability to return, but he has excellent ability to block, so we feel like that's kind of a good complementary piece to Turp to have back there for both reasons, to return it and to block.
For CJ Goodwin, what his value to your unit, especially as a guy who's now been in the league double-digit years, as an undrafted guy from a small school, his journey, how inspiring is it, I guess, from a special teams perspective?
Yeah, it's cool. So he was our captain this past week, and we always put in our scouting report a picture of our special teams captain in there, and I kind of doctored it up where I pulled news clips out from his whole career where, the Giants wave CJ Goodwin, the Cardinals wave him, the Bengals wave him, the Niners wave him, whoever else, I think he got waived like 6 times. CJ's out with a torn pec for the season. So just all the dents that he took is, great for our young guys to see, like, this guy's still here. Like, when do you say enough is enough? Never. That's kind of CJ's mindset, is he just keeps on going, and he feels like he's getting better, and he feels like he's getting faster. So not only is he a great player on the field like he was yesterday in a lot of unseen things, he's just fantastic to have Monday through Saturday. And gosh, such amount of respect for him to come off the pec injury that he had and then just jump right back in like, he's 25 years old is pretty special.
Hey, John, Garrett Podell, CBS Sports. Mike mentioned that he'd be comfortable with Brandon kicking from 70. Do you have numbers indoors at AT&T versus on the road? Like, what is the max distance in your mind? You mentioned 76, but that you'd be comfortable with him attempting.
Yeah, I think we do have numbers going into the game. Every game's different. The Cleveland game was different than AT&T because of the conditions, and a lot of times on the road, when you're outdoors, I guess you should say, it's different going directions. So we predetermine those numbers, but then we change them based on the wind throughout the game. In AT&T Stadium, I don't know if I want to give you the numbers so our teams don't use it against us, but it would be pretty significant distance that I'm not used to. Or it's like, gosh, I don't know what the ultimate range is. I think, end to half, end of game, you could go ahead and hit some bombs as long as they don't got another returner back there, which they did in Vegas in the preseason game, and we made it. So I think there's a lot that goes into play on the distance of the kicks. Can you do it? Is there somebody back there? Protection, all those kinds of things. Yeah.
Skyler Dixon with the AP. The 76-yarder did come up on Sports Talk Radio today here.
Did it really?
In town. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was right there on the sideline.
Prompted the conversations of how far would they, so that one came up.
Yeah.
You mentioned something earlier made me wonder with this new kickoff. Do you feel like balls that reach the end zone are almost automatically going to be downed all the time now, or do you think guys are still going to be bringing the ball out of the end zone?
It feels like if it reaches the end zone, it's be taking a knee. And the reason for that is because you get it at the 30, where maybe in the last couple of years with a touchback at the 25, you felt like you could take it out from too deep and get it to the 27, 28, which gives you a couple of yards. But now the 27, 28 is not as good as taking a knee. So that 30-yard line, might make a ball in the end zone have it taken a knee rather than bringing it out. So that's part of it too. But I think, just sitting here thinking, I don't know if the return percentage versus touchback percentage, which is the same thing, should be the thing we look at for the success of the play. Because there's different reasons why some balls stay and some balls go. And like I said, I think the kickers dialing in the distance and direction is a big part of keeping the ball in play. Because I think there's a lot of games, just looking at around the league, where it looked like the kicker was trying to dial in a ball in play, but it goes 2, 3, 4 deep and ends up taking a knee. So the intent was to put it in play, but the kicker might have pushed the line just a little bit too far. So I think there's 3 kick return touchdowns in the NFL last season. We already got one. There's been a bigger variety of drive starts where there's higher percentage of drive starts inside the 20, a higher percentage of drive starts past the 40. So I think it's a more unpredictable play, which I think is great. And I think we give us more time, I think it's going to be cool.
One other quick one. Did the incognito John Fassel of a little more than a year ago, when he was scouting Brandon Aubrey, think that he would be sitting here talking about 70-yarders?
No. So that's a great question. Definitely not. I was just hoping we could find one. And I feel pretty good like we might have found one. I think we found one. But let's give it some time. He's still a rookie. We haven't played 3 games in the second season yet, right? So let's give it a little bit of time. But it feels good to have somebody that you think can make pretty much any kick. Yeah, man.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.